Good morning, students. Welcome to the I Learned English Literature class. Today we will be doing the first chapter of your class 8 book. It is a very beautiful poem called The Brook, written by the English poet Lord Alfred Tennyson. Okay, so this poem is a poem about a brook. A brook is a small stream. So it is about the journey of the brook from its origin to where it joins the overflowing river. So a brook is a small stream which originates from a small water body, and then it completes its journey. It has various obstacles on its way, and it overcomes all those obstacles, and it moves through a lot of hills, ridges, towns, villages, hamlets, and how it reaches the overflowing river. So this is about the journey of a brook. However, the poem is also drawing a parallel between the life of the brook as well as the life of a human being. Human beings also are born, they take birth, and they face many challenges in life, and ultimately they die. But the contrast which the poet reflects over here is that man is mortal. After a man takes birth, and after some time, after completing his journey of life, man dies. But here the poet is emphasizing through his poem that nature is immortal. Nature is not transient like man. Nature is forever. Nature is eternal. So the brook, in many places, in four times, the poet has repeated a line in this poem, which says that for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Okay, so the poet says this makes a comparison between the life of a brook and the life of man, but at the same time he also says that although the life of man comes to an end, nature never comes to an end. Similarly, the life journey of a brook may come to an end when it joins the brimming river, but it continues its life through that river. Okay, it does not lose it, it is not mortal. The brook and almost all things in nature are immortal. Unlike man, nature is immortal, it is not transient. Okay, so this is the gist of the poem which you are going to study, The Brook. So let me start with the first stanza. I come from haunts of coot and hern. I make a sudden sally and sparkle out among the fern to bicker down a valley. Okay. So here the first thing which you will notice is that the poem is a monologue. The brook itself is the speaker in this poem. The brook is talking to us. Okay. So I refers to the brook here. You can write down that I refers to the brook. So it is a poem where personification is the main figure of speech in the entire poem, because the brook is an inanimate object. Inanimate object means something which has no life, but still it is talking to us as if it is a person, it is a human being. So any uh, the figure of speech personification refers to when an inanimate object, an object which has no life, is behaving or has been portrayed as having life. Understood? So this is what is personification. So here in the entire poem, the brook, which is a small stream, has been personified. So I refers to the brook. So the brook is saying that it is coming from the haunts of coot and hern. Now let me tell you, haunt means dwelling place, a place where you stay, dwelling, where you stay, where you reside. And haunts means frequently visited. So the brook is coming from a place which is frequently visited by birds like coot and hern. Hern is an old word for the bird heron. You must have heard about the bird Heron, heron. So hern is an old name used for the bird heron, and coot is a kind of a duck. So where does the brook come from? The brook comes from a place which is frequently visited by birds like the coot and heron. So if I ask you, From where does the brook start its journey? The brook starts its journey from the dwelling place of the coot and heron, of birds like coot and heron, where these birds frequently visit to drink water. There is the origin of the brook. The brook originates from the place where birds like the coot and heron frequently visit. I make a sudden sally. Sudden sally. Now, sudden, here the brook is saying that I originate from there where the birds come frequently, and I suddenly rush from there. I make a sudden sally, means quick rush, quick movement. I flow very quickly from there. So you will know that when a child is born, when a child is born, it is very energetic, full of energy, full of vigor. So this energy is shown by the brook also, that as soon as it is born, it makes a quick rush. It is sudden, energetic, noisy, just like a child. When a child is born, it is full of energy. Lot of energy is there in the child. So similarly, then the brook makes a sudden sally, means it makes a quick movement, and sparkle out among the fern to bicker down a valley. Sparkle, the sunshine, the sun rays fall on the brook when it rushes quickly from there, from the haunts of coot and hern, and it rushes out quickly. The rays of the sun falling on the brook make it sparkle, make it shine. And fern refers to a plant. You know that fern is a water plant. So this sudden movement of the brook causes the sunlight falling on it to sparkle, to bicker. Now bicker word means to argue, to complain, to argue, to make noise. Here, the word bicker has been used to indicate that when the brook is young and it starts its journey, it is very young, energetic, it makes a lot of noise. Bicker here can be used to represent a very noisy kind of sound. It is very noisy as it flows down a valley. Okay, it flows down the brook in its initial journey. It is very energetic, where it rushes out suddenly. Its sun rays, when they fall on it, they sparkle. The brook sparkles, shines, and noisily it flows down a valley. Okay, so this is the first stanza. So we have drawn a parallelism here in the first stanza itself. We know that the brook is just born and it is full of energy, full of vigor. It is full of noise, just like a small child. By 30 hills I hurry down or slip between the ridges. By 20 tops a little town and half a hundred bridges. So here the brook is now describing its further journey. So it passes by 30 hills. Hurry. The word hurry also shows you that when in its initial journey, the brook has a lot of energy. So it's flowing down hurriedly, rapidly down 30 hills. Or slip. Slip means glides between the ridges. Ridges are small hills, smaller hills. By 20 thops. Thops are small villages or hamlets. A little town means a small town also it passes on its way. And half a hundred bridges. And it also flows underneath. Half a hundred means 50 bridges. So all these numbers have been given to show you how rapidly the brook is flowing, how fast, how many things. Actually, the numbers are not literally that the brook is not counting them, but the numbers have been used to indicate several. It passes many bridges, many hills. Okay, several bridges, several hills, several smaller towns, so many things it passes on its journey. Okay, so the question which will be asked from this stanza could be that what are the things what are the objects which the brook passes by in its journey, in its initial journey. So the brook flows down 30 hills, rushes down 30 hills, and it glides between several smaller mountains, ridges, and it also passes through 20 odd small villages. Also, it passes a small town on its way. and almost flows underneath 50 bridges. So this is a simple stanza, not too difficult to understand. So these numbers should not be taken in the literal sense. They have been given, these numbers have been given to make the poem more beautiful. It indicates that it passes so many, several hills, several bridges. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, the third stanza. Till last by Philip's farm I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So the brook tells us in the initial, this stanza itself, the third stanza itself, the brook tells us that till last means in the end. It passes by Philip's farm. So Philip is the name of the person who has a farm, and nothing else has been mentioned about Philip anywhere else in the poem. We only come to know about Philip in this stanza, that in the end, the brook comes to an end or meets the brimming means overflowing river near Philip's farm. So a very important question from this stanza may be, where does the brook join the brimming river or the overflowing river? The brook joins the overflowing river near Philip's farm. This is the question which is very important from this stanza, and you have to know that the only thing which is mentioned is that at last, in the end, the brook meets the overflowing river near Philip's farm. Till last by Philip's, by means near Philip's farm I flow to join the brimming river. Brimming means overflowing river, already overflowing river. So here the brook meets the river near Philip's farm. For men, this is what I told you, that these two lines are very important. This figure of speech is called a refrain. All of you can write down. These two lines are refrain. R-E-F-R-A-I-N. R-E-F-R-A-I-N. So a refrain is some lines which are used repeatedly in a poem. So in this poem, this refrain has been repeated 4 times by the poet. This refrain has been used. And as I told you in the beginning, this refrain, please pay attention. This means that the life of man is transient. Men may come and men may go, means men take birth and then men die. Their life is transient. They it is it they do not they are not immortal. Man is not immortal, but nature is eternal. It is immortal. It continues to live. It goes on forever. Why has the refrain been used in this line? Because see, the poet in this stanza itself tells us that the brook ultimately in the end joins the brimming river at Philip's farm. But the poet uses this refrain here itself, telling us, but men may come and men may go, but my life does not come to an end just because I have joined the brimming river. I continue to live through the river. The brook continues its journey, life through the river. By joining the river also, it continues to live. Okay. I hope this much is clear to all of you. Now, the brook continues to tell us about its journey. Although it in the previous stanza, it may seem to you that the poet has already told us that the journey has come to an end near Philip's farm, but now the brook further describes its journey to us. I chatter over stony ways. I chatter over stony ways in little sharps and trebles. I bubble into eddying bays. I babble on the pebbles. So you see a lot of words like the use in this stanza, the poet uses a lot of words like chatter, bubble, babble. All these words indicate a lot of noise, a lot of life. So as I told you in the beginning of its journey, the brook is full of life, full of energy, full of vigor, makes a lot of noise as it travels. In its journey, in the beginning, in the initial stages of its journey, the poet has used these words again and again to indicate to us that the brook is full of life. It's making a lot of noise. All these words, chatter, babble, means the continuous low murmuring or bubbling sound. So all these words indicate that the brook is full of life as it starts its journey. I chatter over stony ways. Now, stony ways refers to a stony path. So, in some places, the brook has to flow over uh, paths or the beds which are rocky, which have stones. Okay, it has to flow over those kind of flow through those kind of paths also. So, chatter here means to make high pitched sounds. Okay, chattering sound. Chatter means to talk noisily. So here also the brook moves noisily over stony paths in little sharps and trebles. Sharps and trebles are musical notes which are high pitched. Okay, in music, sharps and trebles refer to high pitched sounds. So here also the water, as it flows past these obstacles, these stones, it makes a lot of noise, high pitched noise. I bubble into eddying bays. Now, eddying bays. So you already know what a bay is. A bay is eddying. First, understand the meaning of eddying. Eddying means circular or spiral movement of water. Okay, eddying means circular or spiral movement of water. So I bubble into eddying bays means when the water, if you see when the what when you, if you have seen when a water body moves through these spiral, goes through these spiral movements, it a lot of bubbles, foam is formed. So that is what is referred to as I bubble into eddying bays. A lot of bubbles are formed as it passes through these eddying bays, circular or spiral movement of water. I babble on the pebbles. So when and also when it passes through or it flows down pebbles. Pebbles are small stones. Small stones. So then also babble means complain, but here it means that it is continuously making a noise when it is flowing through those pebbles. Also, it continues to make a noise. A babble can refer to a murmuring sound. It keeps on making sounds, high pitched notes. So here, these tones, these pebbles, stony ways, eddying bays, refers to all the challenges in life. So the brook also, when it continues its journey, it has to flow through stony paths, it has to flow through eddying bays, it has to flow through pebbles. Okay, so all these are life's challenges which the brook faces. Similarly, a man also, when he has grown up a little, when he's no longer a child, he has to face a lot of challenges in life. So these pebbles, eddying bays, and stony paths are the challenges which the brook faces in its life, and it has to flow through all these obstacles in life. Similarly, man also in his life has to face all these challenges, all these uh, obstacles. Hmm? All these challenges are met by man also. Okay, met by the brook also. With many a curve, my banks I fret, by many a field and fallow, and many a fairy foreland set with willow, weed, and mallow. Okay, so here, with many a curve, my banks I fret. Many a curve means it shows that the path of the brook, the journey of the brook is not easy. It is a very winding journey. It makes its journey is not a straight journey, just like man's life does is not smooth. Hmm? Man does not have a smooth journey throughout his life. Similarly, the brook journey is a winding journey. It has lots of curves. Okay, it has lots of ins and outs. Hmm. Fret, with many a curve my banks I fret, means the brook carves its own banks. It carves out a pattern by flowing through its banks. It carves out a pattern into the banks, and it makes its own banks by many a field and fallow. And it also crosses many fields means fertile land, and fallow means unused land. Land which is not being cultivated is a fallow land, and field means cultivated land. Fallow means a land which is not in use. And many a fairy foreland set. So it also crosses many beautiful piece of land. Foreland means piece of land which is extending into the sea due to the constant flow of water. So it passes many forelands which are very beautiful. Fairy, the word fairy shows that those lands are very beautiful, just like a fairy, just like as in a fairy tale, with willow, weed, and mallow. Willow weed is also a plant, and mallow is also a plant with a fine, heavy. It's a water plant. Mallow and willow weed are all water plants. Mallow is a plant with fine, hairy stems and leaves. Okay, so these are the kind of lands the brook passes through, and it has a winding journey. It does not have a smooth journey. With many a curve, my banks I fret. So fret means that the uh, when the brook is flowing, it carves out its own bank. Wherever it flows, it makes carves a pattern. Due to the constant flow of its water, it makes its own carves its own banks, and it passes through a lot of fields which are cultivated lands and fallow lands which are not in use. And it also crosses beautiful lands which are covered with willow weed and mallow. Next stanza. I chatter, chatter as I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. So again, see the use of the words chatter, chatter. Again, it is saying that the brook is probably making a lot of noise as it is flowing down to join the brimming river, to join the overflowing river. The brook is making a lot of noise while it joins the brimming river. But again, the refrain has been repeated here. So this refrain, you can see this is the second time we have the poet has used the refrain here, that men are mortal, man's life is transient, but nature is immortal. The brook is immortal. It outlives man. It joins the brimming river and continues its life and journey through this river. Okay, through the river, it continues its journey, it continues its life. However, man is mortal. He comes and he goes, he takes birth and he dies, but nature is immortal. Okay, so we will do the poem till here today, and we will continue tomorrow.